Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm glad that you're joining me today for episode number 99. And I want to share just a little bit of insights with you today. So this is a conversation with just me and you. And most of you know that I am a coach and I do some group coaching and some individual coaching. And I spend a lot of time talking with people, helping them with their business. But through this process, and as well as me going through my coach certification processes that I've done and the continuing education that I do, it's got me thinking about something that I wanted to share with you today, which is, what's your greatest gift? Have you ever pondered what the greatest gift is that you can give to someone else? And I'm sure you might immediately be thinking about something that could cost a lot of money, but what I'm referring to actually doesn't cost a dime. Actually, in fact, it's free. What I'm referring to is your gift of presence, not just your physical presence, but also your mental and your emotional presence, and literally leaning in and dedicating your whole self for a block of time to the activity or the person that's right in front of you. Now, I'm sure you might be wondering what exactly is presence and maybe why I consider it to be a gift. But before we talk about that, let's explore what your presence is not. Let's look at what it is not first. Now, have you ever been on a Zoom call or maybe a Teams call and you could clearly see that the other person was not fully engaged with you? That it was obvious that they were doing something else, even while on the call with you, especially if it's a one-on-one? What about on a phone call where you could tell that that person on the other end was distracted or maybe doing some task-oriented things like responding to emails, and you kind of get the feeling they're just doing things to check off their list? Or maybe you experienced a distracted listener while talking to your friend, your spouse, or your significant other, only to realize that they were just in another world completely. Now, these are some examples of what not being present is. And I know that each and every one of you have experienced it because I experience it. And I also know that we've all been guilty of not being present as well. Each and every one of us has done it. We've not been present for people in front of us or for the tasks that we're doing. And, you know, we experience this every day in human life, right? Every day in multiple situations at home and at work and school, or that dreaded Zoom call. It's actually really easy to spot when someone is not present with you in the moment or they're not paying attention or focused. It's also really easy to determine when you are not present. All of these examples of someone not being present, I know you've experienced it, as we're all guilty of not being actively present as well. I know that I've done it, you've done it, and I know that you've experienced not being present in multiple situations, whether it's at home or at work, maybe in school or on that dreaded Zoom call. And honestly, friends, it's actually easy to spot when someone's not being present in the moment. And you can tell when you are present and when you're not present. Just like we experience the lack of presence for others, we experience it ourselves as well. Let me give you an example. So I hear my email notification ding when I was in the process of writing something, heard it on my computer. And I immediately stopped writing and I looked up at the email that just came in that very moment. And I lost total focus and presence on what I was working on. And I shifted my mindset and my attention to the email. Now, I know you've done something like this as well. And to let a notification decide when you check your email, when you get distracted, right? We've all done it. The thing is, society and sometimes our bosses have actually conditioned us that each email is critical and we must respond quickly, which could not be further from the truth. Now, I could talk about this and get on my soapbox about this for quite some time, though I do believe email can be an effective tool. For most people, it's either a distraction or they use email as their to-do list and it's open all day long and you're in it all day long and not actually getting real focused work done. But again, we'll talk about that later, right? But what you may not realize is that the focus you had honed in on, the project that you were working on when you got distracted, or the person that you were talking to, that focus is lost. When you give it to the notification or another ongoing distraction, you've lost it, right? Now, here's an interesting thing for you. Statistics actually say that when you lose presence or get distracted from a task, it can take up to 20 minutes to get back into the flow of work or the task that you're working on. Now, I want you to think about that for just a minute. Whether you realize it or not, you just lost 20 minutes of productivity. So the task that you were working on now takes you longer to complete. Or if you do start back on it immediately, you're likely to make a mistake or miss something critical. So in the example that I just shared about email, it's really simple solution, right? You know what I'm going to say? Close your email. Choose to stay focused on writing or working on that spreadsheet or whatever project it is you're doing so you can get it done faster with a clearer thought process, and then you can move on to the next thing. But here's the reality, friends. Most people don't want to admit that this happens to them or admit that these little small distractions cost us time and money each and every day. We believe as a society, because it's talked about all the time, that we are great multitaskers. I know that you've heard somebody say that before, right? I'm a great multitasker. I can do multiple things at the same time. But in reality, there is no such thing as multitasking. Listen to that again. There's no such thing as multitasking. I'm sorry to be the person to have to tell you this, but your brain doesn't work that way. Your brain is linear and can only process one thing at a time. And so I want to share a little bit about multitasking with you in this episode, because actually the term multitasking originated in the 1960s as a way to describe how computers, not people, alternately work on multiple tasks, sharing one resource, which is the CPU. So if you want to know more about this, or you want to learn more about this, I'll drop a link in the show notes to an article that I wrote way back in 2019 titled, "I'm a Great Multitasker." But just know that your brain is linear and the way it processes information is linear, and you cannot multitask, especially doing it effectively, right? So let's talk for a minute about why this is important, why being present is important, especially now. And I think we all know that we live in a world of distractions. Each and every minute of the day, something or someone is vying for our attention. The notifications on your phone, the ding of the supposedly urgent email, the kids running into your office that I experience quite a bit. And I'm sure each and every one of you could think about things and create a list of dozens of things that are vying for your attention each and every day. And so for most of us, to be our best and to perform our best, we have to give ourselves and others the greatest gift that we have to offer, and that is presence. There are literally so many benefits to being present that I could fill up an entire document. I could fill up an hour's worth of this conversation, which I will not, I promise, about the benefits of being present. But for right this minute, I want to highlight for you just a few. You know, choosing to be actively present leads to improved social skills, improved creativity, and better problem solving, greater appreciation of the people and the things around you, less stress, less overthinking, and you actually get to complete tasks faster and get projects done faster. And I could keep going on and on with this. And hopefully you're thinking now at this very moment that you could get things done quicker and faster, more efficiently and more accurately if you just remove some distractions in your life. If you just turned off that phone, if you just shut off that email, if you just closed your office door, on and on of the things that would benefit you and how you and your business or your company or your customers are going to benefit from you being present. So I want to give you a couple of little tips, and I've talked about these because I believe this is your greatest gift. Okay. And I broke these down into 4 simple steps for you. Step 1, I just talked about it. Close everything. Yes. Silence your phone, close your email. Apple has this cool little device feature now that says do not disturb, that sends everybody directly to voicemail and silences everything. I have mine on right now. How obnoxious, honestly, literally, would it be if my phone were to ring while I'm recording this episode? It'd be a huge distraction. And my amazing editor, Kayla, would be really mad at me for having to cut out a phone call and a ring while I'm trying to record a podcast. So remove the distractions. It makes a huge difference. Number 2, focus. Focus on what or who is right in front of you at this very moment. Friends, I promise you, you will be amazed at how quickly a meeting can go, how fast you can solve a problem if each and every person in the room is present and focused at the task at hand. Number 3, take a big, deep breath. Everything that you think that you are missing out on will be there when you finish the task that you're focused on. In fact, it may help you to focus on your breath a few minutes before you start the meeting, or maybe before you start the task, just to clear your mind of the clutter and the noise, because we all have these stimulus going on and our brains are always running. So what I tell some of my clients is 5 minutes before you go into that important meeting, or you make that important phone call, or you start that task, and you can do this in 2 minutes. Doesn't matter. Just sit quietly for a second, take a few deep breaths and relax and really get your mind clear and get rid of all the noise so that you can focus on what you're doing and watch. I promise you, watch the results you're going to get. Number 4, since you're now focused and present on what's right in front of you and what you're doing and the people, specifically the people, I want you to ask them to do the same thing. That's right. I am suggesting that you start a meeting or a conversation with a very polite and respectful request for everyone to do the same thing, for everyone to shut down their devices and to get focused. And if they choose not to, and they lose their presence during the starting over, Kayla. And if they don't shut everything down and they lose their presence during your time together, politely call them out. That's right. Call them out, because you matter, because they matter, because the task you're working on, the problem you're solving, the meeting you're having, it matters. And so one of the things that I say to people, including my clients, is, hey, I'll wait until you finish that so that we can continue our conversation. That's polite. It's not negative. It's not condescending. It's just you saying, hey, I'm important. This conversation is important, and I will wait until you finish what you're doing. Try that and see what happens. So recap them really quick. Close everything down. Focus on what's right in front of you at that moment. Take a few deep breaths to center yourself, and then ask the people that you're engaging with to do the same thing. Now, here's the thing. This will be one of the most challenging things that you take on this year. But I promise you, it will also be one of the best things that you do, not just for yourself, but for those that you're engaged with. And friends, that includes your family, your partners, your spouses, your moms, your dads, your next door neighbor. This will help you so many ways. This will help you build stronger, deeper relationships with the people that are around you. So as you move forward, we're halfway through the year, and as you move forward, be sure that you're giving those people around you your greatest gift, the gift of presence. As someone once said, there is only one time that is important, and that time is now. It's the most important time because it's the only time that we have any power. I appreciate you joining me today for this short episode about your greatest gift. I hope you got some amazing value out of our conversation today. If you've got any questions about this, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope that this made a positive impact on you and your journey. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks for episode number 100. Take care, everyone.